Dig.
And I'm Hannah Hampton, and you're listening to HR After Hours.
Well, hello and welcome to HR After Hours podcast, the only HR podcast named most likely to take a swing at Corey Feldman. Hannah Hampton, my sister from another mister, the Princess Peach to my Mario. How the heck are you doing this fine wintry day?
Oh, I'm happy for a little bit of break from work, so I'm doing well. How about you? How are you?
Good. I didn't want to do our typical looking back, but I do want to do a little bit of a state of affairs just because I think I was feeling a little over optimistic about things. I thought we were all on the same page out here in corporate America, that we realize people do want to work to live, not live to work, as we say all the time, and finding a good work-life balance is important. And if companies do that, they're going to keep great people.
Right.
And Hannah, I shit you not, I was helping someone go through the interviewing process with the company, a unnecessarily rigorous 9-week interviewing process.
Ooh, that's awful.
The hoops they made this person jump through, and hey, I want you to read part of this book and then give us a report on how you feel that these philosophies can be incorporated into the workplace.
Hard pass.
Total horse shit. Absolutely hard pass. And then they come with an offer, and I won't even go into all the details of the offer other than they wanted this person to basically be away from home, 5-hour flight for 8 fucking weeks. This is the kicker, though. This is what tells me that we have so much more work to go, Hannah Hampton. They offered this person as part of their package, and the compensation was on point. The bonus program was unbelievable. 1 week of PTO a year for the first 5 fucking years.
What?
Yes.
That is insulting. Like, I would be insulted by that. That tells me, as a company, you couldn't care less about my life outside of work. That's so insulting, and tell them to go fuck off.
And that's what she did.
Good.
But,
one
week. 1 week. And the thing is, Hannah and I, we like to catch up with each other before we record. We both realized the reason we're so tired this end of the year is because neither one of us took our regular amount of vacation times. We both shorted ourselves at least a week less than what we do yearly because of just things going on in our lives. And we're both going, wow, this is why I'm so damn tired. 1 week. And their response when she went back to him about that was, well, but you're going to make so much money with this bonus program. And I'm like,
who cares?
Who cares? Right? Who cares?
Because, I'm sure it's not like a life-changing amount of money. Let's get real. Like, I'm sure it was decent for the industry, but honestly, to me, a bonus program is not worth my sanity, is not worth my time. Now, let me ask you this. So you said PTO and you said vacation, and to me, there's two different things here, because there's PTO, which is paid time off, which if it's a PTO bucket, that's used for not only vacation but sick and personal time. Now, was that like 1 week of this is all you get, or was it vacation and then there's another bucket for sick and personal? Which again, I still think 1 week is bullshit. But was that an all-encompassing, like you get basically 5 days off this year, no matter if you're sick, need to take a personal day, or you're going somewhere?
Yes. 1
Jesus
week,
Christ.
5 business days off, total.
That's it.
Everything. Everyone has different terminology, right? But some companies do separate them.
Bucket. There's because some people have a vacation bucket, a personal day bucket, and a sick bucket. That's kind of your old school style. But at some point, companies like, fuck it, we're going to put it all in one bucket. And it's like, you get PTO and and we're going to add to it. We're going to give you more then it would just be vacation because we want you to use this bucket for sick time, for personal time, and for vacation. Now, other companies have your PTO bucket and your sick bucket. So when you're sick, you use sick time, but PTO is for vacation and any personal time. So I wanted to understand was that, okay, you get a week vacation, but you also get sick time and other stuff. But if it's freaking 1 week of PTO and that's you only get 5 days off for the year, that's fucked.
It's insane because what if you do have to use them? Because that is why some companies separate them. Is here are these sick days or personal days, not non-PTO days, because life happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of companies do 5 of those, and I think some states require that as well. No, this was 5 days PTO, personal time off total. That's it. It's insane to me because, and I
I
do,
can imagine that the company holidays is not anything to write home about too.
of course not.
If they have, because so it's literally like you literally will have 5 days off in the year. That's so fucked up.
And I think I took it a little personal when this person was going through this because I'm just, and it's because I'm spending the time with you, Hannah Hampton. But sometimes when we get done recording, I feel really optimistic about how things are trending. And of course, we try to find the positives because we don't want to spend 35 minutes bitching about stuff. No one wants to hear that. There's enough negativity in the world that we're not even going to address today. But when I see this, it's just so it just breaks my spirit and my heart a little bit because I'm like, wow, we're I mean, and we're a tiny little podcast, but I just
Yeah.
I want to think that we are kind of with the pulse of things and where things need to be heading. And that's what gets me excited about what we do. It's the reason we still do it. And then to hear this and then just their reaction to it. The reaction when it was like, hey, maybe she'll accept if you give her another week or something. And for it to be, well, no, and we know we may have to review our policy at some point in the future, but this is how much money she can make because of our wonderful bonus program. Those aren't the same. They don't offset each other. So you're telling me if she works her ass off, she can make a fortune. Well, for someone to work their ass off 52 weeks a year, to see it in from the beginning of the year or whatever your fiscal year is to the end and close and make everyone money, they can't do it on 1 week's rest in that period of time.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. You knew I was a little disheartened about that. And we're still like, well, we don't want to do trends, blah, blah, blah. But you found this great article. When these articles are in our trade and they're in HR Brew, which is this one, and HR Dive, who's reading those? The HR people. So it's
Right.
it's still a mission to get it to those that make these decisions. We can always fight for them. We can be that advocate, but people have to buy in. And it looks like people just aren't buying in as much as they need to.
No. So, I found this great article. The title of it, Goodbye, Hustle Culture and Fake Empathy, How HR Pros Want Workplace Culture to Change in 2025. And the author is Paige McLaughlin. I understand what you're saying, like, hey, this is what HR wants. And I'm hopeful or cautiously optimistic that as each day goes on, we get more and more seats at the table where we are able to help drive that culture. Because we all know the culture comes from the top down, but HR pros know that culture change needs to happen. And 2020 and everything that's happened, change has come around where people realized a lot more to life than just work. I think in the United States, we're horrible about focusing on that hustle culture and work. Whereas European countries, they've got it right. They've got mandated into law that you have to give people a certain amount of time off. 1 week, they would laugh their asses off at that because a lot of places, it starts at 6 weeks off. Not just like, hey, this is all you get. So HR pros understand that things have got to change and it's baby steps, one step at a time. So what is out? Fake empathy from employers. It's time to move beyond superficially empathy that lacks real support. Leaders should not only acknowledge stress, but take concrete actions like conducting regular surveys on burnout and workload. understanding employee challenges better, and offer meaningful flexibility to create a culture where team members feel genuinely supported. So it's building trust and resilience and fostering that engaged workforce. And that was a quote from Celine Hervé, people partner at Grammarly. So I love that. Like, pretending to care, like, throw that out the window. That's bullshit. So I love that that's a what out.
You and I talked about this without even looking at this article. Sometimes that fake empathy is not even intentionally fake, depending on your work environment and your leaders. If they were never presented anything different than, well, this is just how it's done and this is what we do. One of my goals for 2025 is to stop saying boomer mentality and things like that. But it's the whole thing. It's the, well, this is what I had to do, so this is what you should do, and this is what the next round should do, because basically is the term they would never use, but it validates what they had to do to get where they are, and to them. And so they're looking for that validation by saying, well, I had to do it, so you've got to do it, because no one else is telling them otherwise.
Right.
And the key word in her quote is understanding. By understanding employee challenges better, that is something that transfers into real life outside of the workplace too, is don't just say, I hear you, man. I understand you're bummed. We've all been there. I get it. It's understanding how they got to where they are, or just listening and validating their feelings. Another thing we spoke on earlier. But if you don't understand it, you can't fix it.
Right.
If you have something in your home repaired or your car, there are people that are paid to diagnose the cause of the symptom. That's what a mechanic is. That's what an electrician is. As an employer, you should know your business and the challenges that your workforce face getting said widget built or said service, provided. That if you don't understand, how can you make it better? Because ultimately, if you want the most out of your people, it's making it to where they don't have unnecessary challenges, or that they are involved in the collaborative environment to resolve those issues, where it's not all on them and, adding stress on top of everything else.
For sure. For sure. All right, let's move on. So what is out? The rise and grind mindset. It's like, this is the quote from Nancy Hage, this Chief People Experience Officer at Automation Anywhere. I welcome a shift away from the emphasis on hustle culture. Amen, sister. Yeah, while it is encouraging to see individuals energized and enthusiastic about their work, the glorification of overworking often leads to burnout, increased stress, diminished critical thinking, and poor decision making. Employees may feel compelled to demonstrate their willingness to work long hours, which can distract from them working smarter. Amen. I love that. Like, let's leave that in the past. That whole, you have to work 80 hours a week to get ahead in this world, or even 60 hours a week. I ain't doing it, right? That has got to go away, because it does lead to burnout. It does lead to stress. And let's get real. In our world, working more does not mean working better, or it doesn't mean productivity, which we'll get to. I'm all for it. What about you?
We absolutely have to get the word hustle and hustle culture out of our vernacular. I don't like it for multiple reasons. There's so many different things that have become associated with the term my hustle. I'm hustling. I'm doing this, working as hard as I possibly can until I get the desired result, put in all the hours I possibly can put in. That definitely is not working smarter. Working smarter versus harder is the key to success. But I do think that when they say the grind mindset, I think that's a word we can take back. And what I mean by that, you have a lot of people that come into the workplace, and I'm going to use a sports analogy, which I never do, but you have those people that come into work and they want to be the big plays. They don't want to be part of the fundamentals. They're the ones that are going to take that shot from the 20-yard line all the way down across field into the end zone, and they want that glory. That's not the way to do it. And that creates bad representations and terminology. What I look at as what I think we should call grinding it out. When I talk about work and how I get my results, I always tell people I'm your fullback. I'm
Mhm.
not your star running back that's going to break away for that 75-yard TD run. I'm the guy that's going to lower my head and do the work that needs to be done to get the desired result. I'm going to do it 3 yards at a time if I have to, 1 yard at a time. Oh, look, this time we
Mhm.
got 10 yards. I'm willing to do what I got to do, but I'm not going to put on airs and work unnecessary hours to do it. I'm going to get done what needs to get done to be successful. Because what do we say? And we've already said it once. We work to live. We don't live to work. So I'm going to work
Mhm.
for you. And when it needs a little more this week, I'm going to give it what it needs. But you know what? If next week you're only going to hand me the ball a couple times because you don't need me to grind it out, all right, cool. I don't have to work as hard this week.
Totally.
I hope that makes sense because it kind of goes back to what we discussed earlier is the desire to get rid of a time-driven work schedule and make it task-driven.
Mhm. And that aligns with the next one. What's out? Fixating on productivity. This says the obsession with productivity theater needs to go. Real productivity isn't about looking busy during quote unquote core hours or having your Slack status always on green. It's about output, impact, and sustainable performance. So it says if your employees are delivering results, doesn't matter if they're working at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. If you need software to track if people are working, you don't have a productivity problem. You have a hiring, leadership, or trust problem. I wanted to see us measure results, not attendance. This is from Alex Sealer, founder and CPO of Alex Sealer LLC. Alex, I 100% agree with that as well. I definitely have experienced working with clock watchers where they're like, oh, they fixate on being in their desks from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever it might be. And they're worried about they leave a little early or they work late or this or that. And it's like, it's not about how long your ass is in the seat. I love that productivity theater. Hey, look, boss, I'm in my chair. I'm doing my work. Let's throw it out the window. Let's just focus on our output and those results.
That's absolutely, I kind of bled over into this one and I've been babbling, but absolutely. And the thing is, I like how it mentions the Slack status on green,
Oh my gosh,
because
totally.
if you create a culture based on hours worked, now, and granted, there are some fields that you have to, right? We get that. That's different. But if you create a culture that's about, is Hannah putting her hours in? Is her Slack on green? What you do is you actually get less productivity from your
Oh
people because
yeah.
you create a culture where they want to beat the system and they're going to find ways to not put in the hours you're asking or not be productive those hours, but beat you. Perfect example. I have a system where we still use Skype, and I know you've made fun of me for that, but it's just some people are used to it. We have some old timers, whatever. My status is always green on Skype because Skype's on my phone. Doesn't mean I'm sitting there. So, people are like, man, you always work. I'm like, no, I work smarter versus harder. And so everything I need to reply to a client or my team is now on my phone.
Yeah.
So I'm just accessible. That's it. But there are people that will find ways to fool you, and they're wasting time and energy in what could be productivity to adapt or beat your system, which is based on hours worked.
Yeah, and and I will say though, I'm going to shame you a little, but is it really important for you to be accessible 24/7? I will say no.
No, I have the tools to make myself accessible for when I do. And there are times
Okay.
where I'm waiting to hear back from a client, but am I checking my phone during New Year's Eve? No. If you're a client of mine and you think there's anything HR or recruiting related that has to be absolutely taken care of on New Year's Eve, no, you're just being a dick. Let's be
Yeah,
honest. And
that
that's
is
all it
true.
is.
That's true. Okay. Well, let's move on to the next one. So this is the last of the what's out. And this is the one where it gave me a little bit of pause. But then when I fully understood what the person was saying, I kind of agreed with it. Expecting employees to bring their whole selves to work. And I was like, I always appreciate when people can bring their whole selves. So it's in the and this is Linda Ho, CPO of Seismic. In the past few years, companies have encouraged employees to bring their whole selves to work to build trust, vulnerability, and authenticity. While I applaud the sentiment, bringing unfiltered parts of ourselves to work isn't realistic, nor should it be encouraged without question. Don't we all want to put our best foot forward, especially at work? There's a reason why we've seen a rise in fashion lines devoted to business tops for Zoom paired with PJ bottoms for comfort. While that is a lighthearted example, it illustrates the idea of bringing your best professional self to work, refining an essential workforce boundary for professionals. I think bringing your best selves to work means showcasing your strengths and leaning into a mindset that is open to learning and growth. This fosters a productive environment where employees can add value by amplifying their talents while remaining curious and open to new ideas. I love how Linda puts that because while I agree, like you should feel comfortable being yourself, I do understand, but you really do want to put your best foot forward. And remember, we're still at work. There's still boundaries. So certainly I love that idea, but I also love the idea of leaning into that growth mindset and being open to learning and change and not like, well, this is who I am, so I'm not going to change. So at first I was questionable about that one, but I like it. I think I'm going to lean into that in 2025.
This means different things to different people. I know there are a lot of successful people out there. They do as well as they do professionally because they have very strict and consistent boundaries about their quote unquote whole self, personal self, and their professional/best self. No one needs to know what I do when I'm at home. You know me. If I brought my whole self, I don't think people would appreciate some of my dark, sarcastic mannerisms.
Sure.
No one wants that in the workplace, right?
Yeah, for sure. For
so
sure.
I definitely think you should have your professional persona because some people it's an act because they're so different, but they're good at what they do because of the way they show up for work. I just don't think we need to see what's behind the curtain sometimes. People need
Right.
that separation.
We don't need to know how the sausage is always made. Let's get real.
Yeah. And it reminds me, I had someone once talk about instead of work-life balance, he said their company fosters work-life integration. And I turned to him and I go, well, then I can't help you. I'm not bringing you on as a client because you're just promoting misery, which I think is an extreme version of this.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, let's talk about what's in. And so there's 3 what's ins in this article. I'm going to merge the first 2 because we could talk about them together. But it's what's in, emphasizing quality, which we talked about, that working smarter and not harder, focusing on what's important, and just, again, not that productivity theater, as they called it. And then what's in, promoting flexibility. Again, I think we've talked about these. It's talking about a culture of value, a culture that values that efficiency, productivity over just sitting in your desk. So emphasizing quality, promoting flexibility. We've talked about that. Anything else that you want to add on that? Because, of course, in the What's Out, we talked about this quite a bit.
This is something that was our theme of 2024, measuring things by tasks, a task-driven culture, a task-driven schedule. And that's all of this, Here's what we need to get accomplished. Like you said, I don't need to see how the sausage is made. I'm a vegetarian anyway, but help me get this desired result, how you do it best. And as long as we can still collaborate and I can get a hold of you when I need to get a hold of you and we can be a team to accomplish our goals, I don't fucking care if you spent 50 hours on it this week or 5. If I've got what I need from you, we're good.
Yep, for sure. For sure. And again, I feel like we touched on these quite a bit in the earlier sections. And then the last what's in, tech-driven employee engagement strategy. So Ashley Goldsmith, CPO of Workday, said, 2025 will be all about creating an employee experience that brings out the best in your talent, no matter what your company office policy is, so in office or not. Through data-driven insights and AI, organizations can gain a deeper understanding of their employee needs, whether it's increased flexibility, personalized health and wellness benefits, or more career growth opportunities. The key is to actively listen and utilize data to optimize the employee experience for your workforce. I love this because I think it just emphasizes there's not a one size fits all for every company. And I know that we talk a lot about like our thoughts and what we think. Each company is different, each culture is different, and the needs are different. So I love this. Understanding your workforce, listening to them, understand what they really need. And it's not another pizza party or donuts in the break room, but truly understanding what they want and what they need. And if you're able to provide that. Now, of course, this is going to sound a little negative, maybe. Honestly, a lot of times people always want more. So if you're like, hey, what if we offer this? Sure, sure. What if we offer that? So it's not about just throwing things at them to see what sticks, but truly listening and understanding what is going to help them, what's truly needed and wanted versus we'll take anything. So of course, and I say like, hey, it's not pizza, but hey, I'm not going to turn down a slice of pizza, but I don't want that to be my Christmas bonus. So I don't want pizza to celebrate that the company made all this money. And it's like, give me some of that money. So honestly, just understanding your workforce, what they need. And people always need to be doing that. And that shouldn't be a new thing for 2025. But if you're not doing it already, well, then make that a new thing for the year.
Yeah, I could not agree more. This is something we've said in different verbiage, but it's absolutely the key to having successful people, knowing them both collectively, but also as individuals. Could you imagine throughout your career if you worked with people where they had actually had data, taken notes because they've listened to you, that anytime they wanted to have you take on a new task or maybe address something that they thought you could do better, if they had stopped and looked at their little Hannah folder and it said, these are the things that Hannah responds well to. These are the things that she does not respond to so well. But actually took 5 minutes to look in the Hannah bullet points before sitting down with Hannah to bounce ideas off you or engage or collaborate. Could you imagine if leaders did that all the time?
Oh my goodness.
That if they actually knew not to just ask you the same vague questions. How does it feel when someone higher up in your company asks you a question that you've answered before? But they don't know, or they know nothing about your family, or they turn around and act like it's the first time they've ever talked to you. And like, why are you talking about this stuff? You obviously know nothing about me. I mean, the key to working with people is getting to know them as people and treating them as people. No one wants generic response A to problem B. They want you to empathize, listen, understand what the core of the problem is, why it exists, work with them to resolve said problem. Don't give me the basic outline that was constructed in 1955 on how to solve this problem, because it's not the same problem today.
It's not the same world. It's, again, it's like that. What's the different definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Like, we are in a different world. You can't expect to do things you did in the past. Be in the present, be where we are, understand where we are, and make, have that growth mindset. Be open to ideas, be open to listen, be open to being wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with admitting when you're wrong. And I feel like a lot of times people are afraid of that. People don't want to do that, but the world would be a better place. And when you said, like, imagine a world, it makes me think of The Simpsons when they're like, imagine a world without lawyers. And it showed like world peace and people holding hands. But yeah, like, we could live in such a better place if we look at each other and understood each other better. I mean, I'm all for that.
If you get to know who your bosses are and how you can address things with them, you can be the first step in getting them to take the first step, right? So maybe the first step is getting your boss or the CEO of your company to realize just because this policy already exists doesn't mean it's the right policy today. Like you just said, let's be open to change and realizing that the things that worked for us in 2015 aren't necessarily going to work for us here in 2025. So maybe that's what we need to do, is instead of expecting everyone to get what we're saying and get frustrated like I am over some of the things we discussed earlier, maybe it's time to realize we're asking a little too much and we need to be a part of the solution by fostering those first steps for the people that make these decisions.
Yeah.
So
sure.
here's to a successful 2025. Let's
Yes.
all do our parts, whether it's a small baby step or if we can help our company make giant leaps, which would be
Yes.
ideal. Let's all work together to make everything a little easier. Let's make sure that our list next year is my boss keeps bugging me that I need to take more time off. Wouldn't that be a great 2025 in review problem?
That would
And
be amazing. I hope so.
Hannah Hampton, I look at it this way. I love doing this podcast with you, and you are a big driving force in how much I've changed in the
Aw.
last 5, 6, 7 years. If you think of who I was when you first met me and how much you've driven change, that if I can do this, I surely know that any CEO or leader can do the same. So, Hannah Hampton, always a pleasure. Looking forward to a
Aw.
successful 2025.
I look forward to it too. I adore doing this podcast with you, and I look forward to many, many more episodes.
Have a successful day.